Thank you, Diane. And everyone for inviting me here to speak on a topic that I care a lot deeply about. I may have told Diane, when we spoke that I carry 3 cards in my wallet, a laminated card of St. Anthony, one of St. Jude, together with them a newspaper picture of James Foley. One's the patron of what's lost, and that includes lost values like faith, hope, and charity. The second's a patron of what seems to be lost causes. And the third, that's Jim Foley, the spirit of moral courage. Of all the things that were ever said about him, Jack Kennedy had a favorite. He proved himself on foreign soil. And during those 15 years I was with the San Francisco Examiner, I knew a little about the exhilaration of reporting from abroad, the surprising truth you find out there, often by yourself. For me, it was in the days after the Berlin Wall, just after that wall came down. I will never forget the young guy on the eastern side of the Brandenburg Gate. He was in the crowd waiting for that historic gate to open for the first time in years. And he told me to my face that when I asked him what freedom, was ist Freiheit, means to him, he said he was talking to me, talking about politics in an open space. Freedom was simply denied to him for all those years, was just to talk to a reporter like me. It was the young white South African woman in her 20s who said to me as she waited in line to vote that first all races election in 1994, that this was the day she had waited for her whole life. It was being in a hall in Northern Ireland, packed with Protestant working men in the days before the 1998 Good Friday vote, cheering so loud for peace. For the war correspondent, this kind of stuff is tame. We all know these men and women face a dangerous life. People like Ernest Hemingway, by the way, back in covering the Civil War in Spain, and Ernie Pyle, who told the life of the average GI in World War II and was killed telling that story. Neil Sheehan, who courageously exposed the untold, the bright shining lie of the Vietnam War. But the life of the conflict reporter, the conflict journalist, is far more dangerous still. Many of us can only imagine the stress and uncertainty and the scariness of being a conflict reporter, like Jim Foley. Where unlike the war correspondent, you're not only reporting behind the enemy lines, there are no lines. Jim was doing what NBC's Richard Engel, a hero of mine as well, what he was doing in the beginning of his career. When Engel just went over there, a Jewish kid just went over and lived in Egypt and said, I'm going to learn Arabic, I'm going to learn these people and how they live so I can report on them. Looking for stories to tell with no money, really, and then looking for somebody to buy those stories. That's what Foley did. It's a lonely, dangerous life. But where would we be without them, these heroes of truth? I came here tonight because of the invitation of Diane, but before that, the spirit of her son, Jim. And like me, Jim Foley grew up knowing the lives of the saints, especially the martyrs who endured the unimaginable at their ends of their lives. Ed Marchetti was taught by the Jesuits, like I was, whose predecessors suffered horrible fates at the hands of those to whom they had come to spread the word of the gospel. They did so knowing the danger in the Canadian wilderness in which they allowed themselves to be surrounded. James knew the dangers of reporting in warring Libya and Syria, yet he went back again and again knowing those dangers. And when he met his end squarely in the face, he replaced the dashing courage of the foreign correspondent with the stoic face of moral courage. Now, I've been reading, like a lot of us, I'm trying to catch up on Hemingway. And his hero, Robert Jordan, said he could spot a traitor. I've been thinking about this with the Trump thing going on, trying to spot the traitor and what to look like. He said you could always spot a traitor because they had a sadness that comes before the sellout, the sadness in their face. But when I look at my wallet, picture of James Foley, I don't see sadness. I don't see what Hemingway knew and was worried about. I see the opposite. And in the many times I've looked at that picture, that young man's face, I see a stoic resolution. It says to me, I will not show fear, I will not show defeat. I can see that they're taping all this, and that my captors are going to use all this. And I know that it'll find its way home to my country, to my friends, to my mom and dad. So I'm going to be strong and resolute and loyal every second of this. Loyal to what brought me here, to this dangerous land, to these captors, to this dire fate. I'll be true to whom I was brought here, what I was brought up to be, and true to what brought me here to do. I wanted to do, to find and to show the truth. I came here tonight myself out of moral humility, but also professional humility. All those times riding in the campaign bus over the years, I came to deeply respect the deadline reporters. I've grown in my respect for straight reporters for the front page as they appear and bring their reporting to my show, Hardball. But I know damned well that when it comes to the reporting out there, I live merely in the chain of custody from them to the viewer and the reader. As George Packer wrote in the New Yorker in a piece on Jim Foley, there's nothing wrong with making a living as a pundit, but as a substitute for reporting, it can be a disaster. I came here tonight to honor, in my own way, Jim's spirit. His spirit that stood so strong to the very end against all that was thrown against him. I came here because I want my children to be this stoic, to possess such moral courage, because years ago, in all those years of Catholic school, of studying the martyrs, I read of such heroic souls as his. Thank you.